In today's California housing market update, we're going to talk about what's happening right now at the county level because, of course, there's some very big differences. This is part 2 of my 2-part video series I make each and every month for you guys. I'll link below the other video which goes over in detail home price trends, other sales stats at the statewide level. But again, this video is talking about the county level. This is from the California Association of Realtors, by the way, which of course I am a member of that, including NAR and the Sacramento Association of Realtors. Anyways, looking at home sales, this is for a state as a whole, and I want to share this because I want to share how these figures compare to the major regions in California, and I'll take a deep dive into the county level stats. So home sales, these are closed home sales for existing single-family houses increased by 19.5% compared to November of 2023, the most recent trends we have from CAR. This gain of 19.5%, by the way, is the fastest pace of closed home sales in California since June of 2021. Also, prices are up by 3.8% based on the California median sold price at nearly $853,000. A gain of 3.8% year over year. This, of course, is still higher compared to a year ago, but about half the increase what we should expect going all the way back until the year of 2010. So the average increase from November to November since 2010 is a gain of 7.7%, whereas this November, it increased by only 3.8%. Meanwhile, the unsold inventory index, or the month supply, is at 3.3 months. You need around 4 to 6 months supply to have a balanced housing market. And now we're at 3.3 months, which implies for the state as a whole, it's a seller's market in which sellers have an advantage over home buyers. But it's not nearly as competitive compared to 21 and 2022 though. So that's an increase of 14%. Days in the market's at 26 days, which means on average, houses taking about 4 weeks to sell. A small increase from 1 year ago. I would say a big percentage increase by 23.8%. But 1 year ago, it took about 21 days to sell a house. So therefore, it takes about 5 days longer right now. So remember this, 3.3 and 26 days for the state. Here's SoCal though. Home sales rose by 8.7%. Their existing home sold price, $850,000. That's up by 3.1% year over year. The month supply is at 3.5 months, which is right there. And also days in the market's at 28 days, right in line with the statewide average at 3.3 months and 26 days for days in the market. Also, the sale price to list price ratio was at 99.5%, which means on average, out of all houses that did close in SoCal for the month of November, they sold for 0.5 percentage points less than the seller's asking price. So home sellers still gained very close to their asking price. And just to provide some context, the statewide average is at 99.4%. So right in line with what we're seeing in SoCal. In the Central Coast, home sales surged by 22% and prices are up by 7.9%. You're looking at around $1 million for the median sold price. The month supply and also days in market roughly on par with the state. But the sale price to list price ratio a little bit lower compared to the statewide average at 99.4%. In the Central Valley, of course, you guys all know I work as an agent here in Sacramento. Sales are up by 17% and prices are up by 4.3%. Quite a bit more affordable compared to other regions at only $495,000. And these other metrics below are more or less in line with the statewide average. The Bay Area, an entirely different animal. Sales up by 14% and prices up by 5.3%. You're looking right now at $1.3 million is their median sold price this November. These metrics below tend to be a lot more competitive compared to other regions. The unsold index at 2 months, very low levels. Days in market at 20 days, it takes about 3 weeks to sell a house. And houses on average are still selling over the seller's asking price by about 0.2 percentage points. The far north, these figures in the far north can vary quite a bit, but home sales are up by 6.2, yet prices are flat. And these metrics below tend to be a lot more softer compared to other regions. In regards to sales, again, the biggest increase on a year-over-year basis since June of 2021. That is quite remarkable given the fact that the average rate, more or less all year, has been around 7%. So despite that, sales are up by a 40 plus month high right now. So anyways, what is kind of interesting about California is that SoCal makes up the vast majority of home sales, up by 43% of all home sales occurred in SoCal, which is basically the combination of the Central Valley and the San Francisco Bay Area at around 44%. Smaller markets are the far north and of course the Central Coast. Here's a perfect example looking at seasonality of our housing market. If you guys all know, you guys follow the channel, our housing market tends to slow down November really through January each and every year. So on a month-to-month basis, it can be a little bit deceiving because going from October through November, it moves from a slow time of the season to even a slower time of the season. That's why the month-over-month figures in orange are all down by more than 10%. In contrast, looking at the same time frame, which does not account for seasonality, we're talking about the same month, November 23 compared to November 2024. Home sales are up greatly, mostly up by double digits, except for SoCal as well as the far north. We're also seeing sales at the top end of the market at very high levels as well. Sales for over $2 million increased by 24% from 12 months ago. Sales over $500,000 to $2 million increased by more than 13% as well. In contrast, we're seeing a lack of home sales in the more affordable price tiers. Also looking ahead in the next couple of months here, pending home sales, a measure of contracts being signed between buyers and sellers. As a buyer, you place an offer, you get your offer accepted. That is a new pending home sale, which in California on average, it takes about 30 days. So you get offer accepted, 30 days later, approximately on average, you get your keys to your house. So this increase up by 16.3% will likely mean that home sales will increase in December once they release those numbers in about a week or two. This, of course, is much different than the declines we saw in 21 through really the early parts or late parts of 2023. All right, let's change gears here and talk about home prices based on the median sold price. So in California, it grew for the 17th consecutive month when looking at year-over-year changes. It's up by 3.8%. The month-to-month change down by 4% in one single month. You'll have to look at my separate video I made regarding that. I went into great detail in my opinion, why we saw such a big decrease on a month-to-month basis. Part of that is seasonality, and also due to the fact that in October, we saw an unseasonal increase in home prices. But again, I went over in great detail in my other video, which I'll link below for you guys. So for the state as a whole, right now that sale price to final list price ratio is at 99.4, which means on average, houses selling about 0.6 percentage points less than the seller's final list price. Speaking of that, here are the 53 counties that the California Association of Realtor tracks here in California. And there's only 5 counties in which on average, more often than not, they're selling for over the seller's asking price. That is San Francisco, Alameda, Santa Clara, San Mateo, and Glenn counties. So for example, in San Francisco, around 75% of all houses that did sell this November sold over asking. But in contrast, let's look at Plumas Lake or Plumas County right here. I mean, right there, it's about 5%. So about 95% of the houses that sold in Plumas sold for less than the seller's asking price. Quite a bit different than the 75% in San Francisco. Every housing market's different. In Sacramento, we're right in the top 10 there. Sacramento, it's about approaching 40%, let's just call it 35%. So houses on average selling more often than not below the seller's asking price. That also can vary by the house, but also the community as well. I'm seeing some areas in which they get multiple offers still, whereas other areas they're getting just one offer, or it's just sitting in the market and they're not selling. So it just really depends on the area. Let's also discuss inventory levels because active listings, which is the amount of houses for sale in California, increased for the 9th consecutive month increased by double digits. So in November, it rose by 26.7%. This means if you're a home buyer, depends on the area, of course, but on average, you're going to see more houses for sale this year compared to 2023. I should say November 24 compared to November 2023, where it has been a similar scenario for quite some time. More inventory, which is good news for home buyers. Every market's different though, right? Because here's a look at active listings by region, and in orange is this year. So not a lot of difference in the Central Coast and the far north, whereas in SoCal, a big increase, about 3,000 houses more for sale this November from 1 year ago. Also, a small increase in the San Francisco Bay Area as well. Here's another way to look at this as well. This is a look at closed home sales compared to active listings. In other words, demand versus supply, right? Active listings is housing inventory. Sales, of course, are closed home sales. So as you guys can see, this is kind of like normal, by the way. It's normal to see sales below active listings, by the way. But the biggest disparity is actually in the far north, because sales only increased by 6.2%, whereas inventory rose by nearly 35%. In contrast, in the Central Valley, the Central Coast, for example, that ratio or that relationship is a little bit tighter. In contrast, though, we're seeing big differences in SoCal. Sales up by 9%, whereas inventory is up by 30%. Now, speaking of housing supply, it increased in all but 6 counties. And by the way, the California Association of Realtors tracks 53 counties. Therefore, this means that 89% of the counties that they actually track had an increase of houses for sale from 12 months earlier. For the counties that did a decrease compared to 12 months ago, that was Laskin County, Madera, Santa Clara, which is in the San Francisco Bay Area, Trinity County, San Francisco, and San Mateo. Interesting there that 3 of these 6 counties are located in the San Francisco Bay Area. In contrast, the biggest increase of housing supply was Sutter County, surging by 74%. Then we have Calaveras County, increasing by about 65%. Also in Sacramento County, we're up by about 25%, more or less in line with the statewide average. All right, let's change gears here again and talk about home sales and home prices from 1 year ago for each of these regions and, of course, each of these counties as well. And by the way, if you guys are still watching today's video, then please hit the like button. I greatly appreciate that. Of course, if you're thinking about moving or selling in the greater Sacramento area, including the San Francisco Bay Area, which my team and I cover, I don't cover the Bay Area, I should say, my team does, then please email me at jason@meetjasonwalter.com. We would love to help you make a move. With that said, let's kind of talk about this because there's some very big differences here. And here is a breakdown. I was looking at the numbers here. The vast majority of these counties have more sales from 1 year ago, and also the vast majority of these counties have higher home prices from 12 months ago as well. In fact, it's down from the previous year in only 15 of the 53 counties that are tracked by CAR. In other words, only 28% of these counties are down year over year, yet 72% are higher than 1 year earlier. That's based on home prices. Home sales, kind of more or less the same trend, because there's only 12 counties that reported a decrease in home sales from November of 2023. In contrast, 41 of these 53 counties are up. In fact, when looking at price gains and also home sales, every single one of these regions is in positive territory. The only one that's flat is in the far north regarding prices from 1 year ago, but sales up by 22% in the Central Coast, for example. Let's have a look at the San Francisco Bay Area. And by the way, I highlighted all the counties that have a decrease in prices or a decrease in home sales. So Marin County is the only county that reported a decrease. That was down by 1.5%. In contrast, I don't know what's going on in San Mateo. San Mateo up by a whopping 21.6%. The median sale price, nearly $2.2 million. For the nation as a whole, just for comparison's sake, we're around $400,000, but in San Mateo at $2,194,000. 1 year ago, it was only $1.8 million. Absolutely crazy. Santa Clara is up by 12.4%. When looking at home sales year over year, Napa was the only decrease, down by 1.8, yet prices increased by 8.5%. In SoCal, the only region that reported a year-over-year decrease, that was for sales in Imperial County, down by nearly 29%. The biggest increase in prices, though, was San Bernardino, up by 12.1%. And again, the most expensive county here in SoCal is, of course, Orange County at nearly $1.4 million. In the Central Coast, Monterey, prices are down by 1.5%. Yet in Santa Barbara, it's up by 52%. Just kind of laughable. We're only talking about closed home sales. So if there's a big mix in the sale price of home sales that occurred 1 year ago or this November, this can really skew the numbers here. This does not mean that if you own a house in Santa Barbara, that your home value increased by 51.9%. We're only talking about the median sold price. Half sold below that amount and half sold above that amount. In any case, in the Central Valley, sales are down greatly in Glenn County, down by 33%, yet prices are up in all these counties except for Placer. Placer is down by 1.4%, San Joaquin's down by 1.8%, Stanislaus down by 0.1%, and most of these counties reported an increase in sales except for San Benito and Tulare County. In Sacramento, we're at around 550,000, an increase from the 523,000 we saw 1 year ago. We're up by 5.4%, and sales rose by nearly 21%. The far north, these figures tend to vary greatly due to kind of a low level of sales in this region. So I won't go over too much of this, so feel free to screenshot and take a look at that. Other counties that were down in prices, again, this varies quite a bit as well. Calaveras County, Del Norte, Mendocino, Mono, Nevada, Yolo, and Yuba counties all down regarding their median sale price year over year. And out of this list, Mono County had the biggest decline in sales, down by nearly 47%. With that said, please email me at jason@meetjasonwalter.com if you're looking to make a move in the greater Sacramento area or the San Francisco Bay Area. We'd love to help. With that said, I appreciate you guys so much for watching today's video. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.